So again, a different type of video. Sorry about this slightly techie setup. What I'm trying to show you here is an Ableton Move, a keyboard connected via USB directly into the Ableton Move, and because what I'm going to be showing is a software hack on the Ableton Move, I thought it'd be great if we could actually see the screen as well. So you've just seen for the first time I've nudged the little webcam that's pointing at the screen. I'm going to do that probably about half a dozen times, so apologies. What I'm hoping to show you here is how using open source software you can squeeze an extra 8 plus synthesizers, plus effects, plus MIDI effects out of your Ableton Move. It's a fantastic project. I've been following it on Discord and as it's slowly developed. And essentially it's based on the fact that inside the Ableton Move is a Raspberry Pi running Linux. So what the guys on the team, the Move Everything team, have been able to do with Charles Vestal is basically come up with a parallel operating system that is able to run some of the Raspberry Pi software-based synth emulations that I've been experimenting with over the last few weeks. So amazing timing, really, that this whole project should come to fruition, really, just as I'm just on the learning curve, getting my head around how to make these things work and using them. Installing it is actually very easy. The guys have created a fantastic installer app for Windows, Mac and Linux that does a great job of walking you through all the steps that need to be done, and it's pretty much automatic. It puts many professional installer programs to shame, and even though I've got a kind of moderate level of tech ability, I think anybody could do this. However, it should be said, this is an experimental project. It's done very much at your own risk. It looks like it works incredibly well alongside the Ableton Move firmware, but there is a risk of bricking your machine. So the first thing I did before I did anything to this was learn how to bring your Ableton Move back from life, back from near death. It's probably essential that you learn to do that before you even come anywhere near this. And I guess also are prepared to bring all the caveats about that this is completely open source. It's supported only by the community. It's a very much a non-official Ableton Move adaptation, but I think kind of gives it a little bit of a taster of some of the things that the hardware is capable of and may well come to official versions. I think probably the final thing to note is just that there is a new version of Ableton Move's firmware coming out, 2.0. I guess if I was a more serious YouTuber, I'd be making a video about that rather than this. But this I'm finding so exciting and so much fun to play with that I couldn't resist showing it to you all. And I guess I'm blown away by the quality of the synth emulations that you can download into the Ableton Move, and really just how much it expands the capabilities. It's a fantastic project, and the guys, everyone who's worked on this, I think really needs a huge pat on the back for what they've done so far. So when it comes down to installing, I'm not going to talk through that. I've already done it on this particular machine. It was a 10-minute process at best. There's a great install video that Charles Vestal has put up. I'll link to that in the comments below. And So definitely, if you see this and you like the sound of what I'm showing off, then definitely dive over to there and check it out. And as I say, from personal experience so far, I'd really recommend it as a fun thing to do. But I guess let me show you what we've actually done. So what it actually does is leave your Ableton Move pretty much in the same state it was. So I can go to any of the menus. I can select the tracks as per normal. I've got this USB keyboard plugged in, so just as per normal, it's going into the USB-A port at the top, and you can see that actually, one of Ableton Move's great features is that it acts as a USB host, so you can plug stuff direct into it and play the sounds directly from the keyboard. And it will continue to function in the entirely usual way, but in the background is running a parallel operating system that's also running on the Raspberry Pi inside the box. And with a key combination, you can get into that. So now it will actually run other synths alongside the existing ones in the Ableton Move. What I've done though is just load a sampler instrument with no sample loaded, just so that at the moment the Ableton Move side of the software is silent, so that you can see what's going on there. And how you reveal the kind of parallel track that's hidden behind each of the tracks is by pressing Shift, touching the volume knob, and then pressing that individual track. And as you can see, what you get up is a new extra menu, which has a number of slots into which you can then download modules. Now, the first of them is basically for MIDI effects. And I guess as an example of that, think of something like an arpeggiator. So something where I can do it actually on. So this is giving you a list of the things. So there's a chord generator and arpeggiator. I'll come back to those once I've got a sound loaded. So the second slot is basically where you can then download a number of synth emulations, and some of those are already going to be familiar because they're based on the type of Raspberry Pi things that are already there out in the open source community. Now, if I click on that, in fact, what I'll do is I'll go back using the same sort of back button. If I press Shift and the select button, you'll see that basically what I get a list of is something that lets you AirPlay directly to the Ableton Move, the Braids synthesizer, DEXED, which I think if you've seen in any of my videos, you'll see is a DX7 emulator, Hera, which some of these are new to me. I think this is a mono synth, a line in input that lets you play line in and add effects to it. A Pi synth called Mini JV, which is based on an emulation of a Roland JV-880, fantastic. OBXD, which is a fantastic free plug-in Oberheim synth emulation. Radio Garden, which lets you stream web-based radio, so you can sample that directly into the Move, a little bit like you might be used to with an OB1. Raffosynth, I think that's a polyphonic synth, modeling synth. SF2 player, so this is a player of Soundfonts, which you will have seen me demo on the MT32 Pi. There's some great Soundfonts with multi-sampled instruments, and I'll try and show an example of that. SurgeXT. I think that's a polyphonic synth. Again, I've only done this. This is 24 hours since I've hacked the machine. So web stream, I think that will actually let you sample directly from sources like YouTube. So and the guys have even put kind of their equivalent of an app store, so you can see it flicking through all the possibilities there, that will let you directly download new additions onto the synth. So, but I'll pop out of there, and you can see that straight away, as per usual, I've gone for DEXED. So so we've got here basically a DX7 emulator that lets you download DX7 patches directly into it. You can click on this button and then actually select the patches. So classic kind of DX7 sounds there, and in fact this is using a downloaded copy of the original factory presets that were in the DX7. So what you'll notice though is that you'll notice that it sounds very dry. So what you can then do is you can go into, there are two effects slots, and you can then add additional effects to that. Let's maybe add some chorus to it. So sort of Juno style chorus. And how about in the next slot I add yeah, gorgeous. So, you know, just that alone I think is worth the price of the admission. The next slot along is basically for setting up the MIDI receive channels, so you can actually have them receiving on a different channel than the track that you're sending on. So and the internal sequencer of the Move still works, so you can sequence patterns, but I did say that I'd come back and actually just show you the MIDI effects. So clicking again, so this is playing 16ths. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So how about I take some of these effects off? So shift. Go shift and click on there, and then we're back to the menu for each of the slots. So I'll clear out I've barely scratched the surfaces. This is there's a tape delay. I actually can't remember what that one is. A reverb based on the PlayStation, I think. That I think is an open source amp and cab emulation. This chorus, which I guess I didn't show, is fantastic. It really does emulate all the modes of the Juno style chorus. Gate, which I think lets you do sort of gated reverbs, a free reverb, a audio ducking thing, Cloudseed, which is I think an open source effects emulation host, and I think same again for Clap, but a huge amount really just to experiment with it, really just there in its own right. But I'll do the same there, zero this here, so there's nothing there. Let's pull up another synth. So So there's two ways of going. Either you can go from the actual selection menu, but if you're in the synth, so you can select push to edit. If you really knock yourself out, you can edit all the DX parameters from the small menu here. You can choose banks of DX presets, but also it lets you change the module, so you can actually go from there direct into one of the other synths. So let's show you Braids, which I guess has a little bit of an FM sort of sound in its own right. Again, it's very dry. And again, you've got the possibilities for editing all the patches actually direct from the menu display. DEXED I've shown you. Here's Hera, so it's polyphonic, and again, probably doesn't sound fantastic dry, but say I put some effects on it. You know, straight away, very, very usable sounds. Okay, let's zero the effects again. Whoops. There's line in. I haven't played around with that yet. What's really kept me going is this one in particular. I'm quite a fan of old 80s romplers and 80s and 90s romplers. Just, fantastic. And what the guys have done on this is some great work. This, I guess, falls into a bit of a grey area in that, it's an emulation, but it does still take the original Roland ROMs. You need to be fortunate enough to have a friend, in inverted commas, who can loan you a copy of their original synth ROM and maybe also some of the files. But if you're able to do that, as you can see from that patch list, so this acoustic piano is one of 4,096 patches. So and let's just try and have a dig around something a bit different. You'll also hear in this emulation there is actually also reverb on them, which you can jump into the settings for each of the sounds and actually edit how it's put together. So reverb level, let's lower it a little bit so it's not quite as Rolandy. What you can do then, if you're lucky enough to have a friend who can lend you their original files, pause, is then download each of the expansion cartridges. So and there are some fantastic ones amongst these. I can't say I'd ever really heard them. Here's I get asked to do a soundtrack, and I am available for those kind of gigs. There's some awesome sampled instruments basically built into this that take you right the way through. Every possible orchestral combination that you can think of. Let's go and go to something. So a whole expansion of piano, different piano types, vintage synths. And what I should point out as well is that each of them have editable. You can edit the many of the parameters of each of the patches directly using the knobs along the top. Touch sensitive, velocity sensitive, but I haven't tried them with an aftertouch keyboard, but definitely doesn't register pitch bend or modulation, at least on how I've got it set up. But I think that might be a limitation of the Ableton Move. Trust the open source guys, I'm sure they're working on that. So what else we got? Okay, let's jump to another expansion. This one kind of blows me away in that it's kind of looped rhythmic effects and you know, so there's a reason why Roland are so huge, and it's as much to do with their patch creation teams who there's just some fantastic work that is on show here. What this might show actually is something interesting. I haven't quite worked this out yet. There's a lot of panning going. If you listen to this in stereo, you'll hear it does bounce around the sound stage. But, you know, all of them very, very musical. Definitely one if you're suddenly asked to do your world music album, then you'd be off to a head start. What else we got? Dance, various cheesy dance loops. Which I think that's the BPM next to them, so maybe not. It's a bit too fast, isn't it? So Old soul, I would imagine S2S is. Yeah, so yeah, probably for you. Yeah, so I was playing it as C, so maybe that is 94 BPM, so there we go. So lots of loops in this dance one, but I think then eventually it does turn into sort of classic dance sound. Anyway, you get the idea. What else have we got in the expansions here? Techno. Again, lots of loops there, but some great sounds too. Anyway, you get the idea. You could just lose yourself in here if you're lucky enough to have a friend who can lend you their copy of the legitimate ROMs. Okay. What else? Let's swap the module for Soundfont. This is a Korg M1 piano sound font. Just sounds great. Dry. But very usable. I'm sure that'll appear on a future track. SurgeXT. Now. So a mono synth, modelled mono synth. They all sound a little bit simple just by themselves, but with some effects on them, there'd be some great sounds there. And I think if I click in, you can see very much all of the normal synth parameters are available to edit there. So I think it does say in the notes, or at least in the version that I'm aware of, that you can't yet save patches on it, but I haven't tried that yet, but I'm sure that's coming. And you know, this looks to be quite a powerful synth just in its own right. Okay, let's go back out there. Raffosynth, did we do that one? So another synth modelled again in a different way. Yeah, quite analog sounding, isn't it? So let's go back again. And I guess I've been saving this one. This isn't a plugin I've ever really had to play with myself, but the idea of this is that it emulates Oberheim type synthesizers. So I've been having some fun with this. This is great. This is let's put some effects on that. So if I go back there, let's pick one of the reverb. Maybe make it a little bit smaller, a little bit less wet. Yeah. Okay, so you can see I'm jumping between the effects and the synth here. I'm back into the synth. We want some classic Oberheim synths here, don't we? Yeah, if I was a keyboard player, you'd hear me launching into something there, I'm sure, but sadly, I'm not. None of these were kind of there though. This one. I don't know if that originally was an Oberheim, but yeah, what's interesting I think is that so you can see I'm going through the top knobs. Whoops, told you I'd nudge that sooner or later. Okay, I'm not going to do any more of that in case I get copyright struck. Yeah. I guess I don't really know what the classic Oberheim synth. I sort of think of it as being brassy Van Halen type things, I think so. I will definitely have more of a play with that, and I'm sure there are okay, vaguely reminiscent, I think. Yeah, so there's the default sound. So it gives you an idea of the fact all the parameters are hidden away. So yeah, I would highly recommend having a play with this if you are willing to take the risk of potentially bricking your Ableton Move. I think it's probably worth the risk. It can be removed once you've installed it. I've barely scratched the surface of the extra features that it gives you to play with. Even before the new firmware, this had a 4-track audio recorder. There are plenty of other things. The Move can be function as a MIDI controller. As I say, definitely if you like what you hear, follow the links that I'll put in the description, and knock yourself out. I'd say if more people don't hear this and potentially buy Ableton Moves on the strength of the extra things that they can see that it's able to do, then I'd be really surprised. But it's really consolidated the decision I made to buy this. I had a hope that maybe, being Raspberry Pi based, that there'd be some extra tricks up its sleeve. I think Ableton themselves have hardly scratched the surface yet of what I think they've got planned for this. But if this is what a open source team can do, then who knows what else is in store. So I hope this has been an interesting taster for you, and thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.